Noi is a young teenager who tries to live a peaceful life. World threatened by disasters, monsters who want to destroy the world. He always dreamed to hold the power to become Saber and Blade, the heroes who fight against the disasters and save people. But one day, Noi watches a hero beat his friend, revealing that they're just NPCs inside a game. His feelings of rage and hatred make him unlock a mysterious power to protect his friend, turning him into the strongest NPC. Noi is the typical carefree boy, living a normal life with his classmates until the disaster siren starts ringing the alarm, signaling a disaster has emerged and everyone must seek shelter. Everyone starts panicking and runs away, but Noi, on the other hand, heads to the roof excited about the disaster attack. The monster notices his presence and tries to attack him, but fails due to a protective barrier around the school. Noi then sees Team Saber appear, a team of heroes who protect the world against the disaster monsters. The team quickly deals with the disaster with their gunpowder and coordinated attacks. Noi heads back into the classroom while expressing his desire to become a Blade and Saber, two types of heroes who fight to protect the world against the disaster monsters. After class, Noi bumps into Modis, a new student who transferred into his class. She quickly says she's in love with him and asks him on a date. Noi's friend, Cass, who is passing by, hears this and starts running away because she's also in love with Noi. He quickly notices she ran after dropping her phone and decides to pick it up and chase her. He quickly meets her on the rooftop. Suddenly, suddenly appears in the same location, somehow managing to pass by the protective barrier around the school. Noi tries to escape with Cass and takes her into a storage room. There he finds an axe and decides to fight the disaster, allowing his childhood friend to escape. Noi jumps into the fight against the monster, managing to hold some time. He blocks some of the monster's attacks to attack back, but ends up being punched away. The disaster tries to finish him, but a Blade hero suddenly appears and slashes the disaster in half. However, the upper disaster's body part is still functional and attacks the hero, slashing its helmet and revealing the hero's identity, the new transfer student Modis. The disaster attacks once again, forcing her to drop her weapon and pierces her abdomen. Noi gets a hold of her sword and quickly pierces the disaster before it can finish her life. She takes him, but also makes him promise he won't reveal her identity and quickly leaves. In the next day, Noi is forced by Modis to skip school to spend some time on a date. Suddenly, the disaster siren starts to ring again while they're buying some clothes. Modis starts evacuating the store while Noi runs outside to check the situation. He notices the disaster location and heads there, but the monster notices his presence and starts chasing him. He suddenly trips while running away, but a Blade girl appears and saves him, slashing the monster away. The girl quickly realizes who Noi is, but she gets shot by another Saber girl. He takes her away and she heals, but the Blade girl approaches them, telling Noi to stay away from the girl he just saved. The two engage on a fight where Saber tells him about the blonde girl murdering other heroes. Noi doesn't understand the situation and doesn't believe heroes should be fighting each other. The Saber girl is almost finishing the blonde girl's life, but Noi interferes and saves the blondie by throwing a stone. He then asks why the heroes of the world are fighting each other instead of fighting the real threat, disasters. Blondie quickly tells him to shut up because non-playable characters, also known as NPCs, shouldn't interfere with players. Noi is confused by what her words meant, and she takes advantage of the moment to take him hostage. Modis appears to save him, but everyone gets quickly restrained by Blondie's skill, making it impossible for them to escape. The blonde girl quickly explains to him how his world is fake, it's just an online game. He's not real, he's just a programmed character inside a game, who will repeat the same tasks and mundane life he always had. He will also never be the hero he always dreamed to become, because he's not a real player. Only real players can become the heroes. Noi starts to shed tears of sadness, realizing that his memories are all fake. All the moments he spent with his friends, family, his whole life is a lie. He then hears Cass' voice as she approaches demanding Blondie to free Noi. But Blondie starts to beat her up because she's just another NPC, who will respawn on the next day if killed. Noi starts begging Blondie to stop, but she just increases her hit frequency on Cass. Noi's enraged feelings and desire to protect Cass make his body start to glow, and that same power removes the threads restraining him. He quickly punches Blondie and throws the scythe at her. She easily dodges it, but the weapon boomerangs back and hits her from the back, making her vanish away. Her powers end up being transferred to him, making him the first NPC to ever kill a player, and the first one to ever become a player. Noi and Modis quickly head back to his house while taking Cass to rest. There Modi's reveals everything about the world and her real self, even mentioning that she's crippled in real life because of an accident 10 years ago. Noi gets outside the room and gets pinned against the wall by the night room. They're a system that deletes bugs from the game. They identified Noi as a bug, but Modi's appears and reveals that he's just a normal player, and not an NPC. Therefore, there's no corrupt data about Noi. Modi's is forced to log out and Noi is then rescued by some strange masked people. He's taken to their hideout and meets a young boy. The young boy introduces himself as the leader of Crow, an advanced error system, and gives his power to Noi, saying that he's the key to changing this world and the only hope to save it. In the real world, Modi's questions her uncle about Gyurido, the one who created the virtual reality system along with her parents, but her uncle dismisses it, forcing her to ask her butler to investigate what happened 10 years ago. The next day, Noi gets back to his normal school life, but a disaster appears breaking into the school's protective barrier, the explosive witch. Noi, Modi's and her bodyguards try to join forces to fight against the disaster, but Noi can't even summon his weapon. The disaster takes advantage of his lack of weapon and punches him, knocking him out. The disaster then decides to finish him up with a fire attack but gets hit by Saber's sniper shot. Modi's quickly uses a healing item to restore his health back to normal, and Noi finally wakes up. But he's different, jumping straight into the fight while telling that he will protect everyone. He unleashes all of his true power thanks to the help of Crow's leader, who removed his locks, and manages to summon his scythe while unlocking high-level skills. He quickly slashes the explosive witch's chest with his scythe and restrains her with his threads. He then extends his hand and starts absorbing its power, further increasing his unlimited potential. The threat disappears, but Noi is still consumed by his power and tries to attack Modi's. One of the masked people from Crow quickly appears and uses her skills to return him to normal, revealing to be also one of his classmates. Noi gets home and suddenly sees his classmate inside. She reveals to him that Crow's leader was kidnapped by Viros from the Night Wolf. Furthermore, she also warns him to be careful of Viros because he will start targeting him, thinking that he's the biggest bug in the current game system. Despite her warnings, Noi tries to live a normal life. He goes back to school, goes to the cafe, and enjoys his beach time with his friends. Suddenly, a disaster appears in the middle of the ocean, ruining his bikini dream time. He and Modi's head out to the open sea in a jet ski, hoping to fight the disaster and defend the cruise ship from turning into the Titanic. They quickly jump on top of the ship and summon their swords to fight against the monster. The disaster uses missiles in attempt to destroy the cruise ship, but Modi's uses her sword to cut all the missiles down, and Noi uses his thread skill to restrain the disaster, but the monster keeps moving forward, destroying the threads as if it's nothing. Modi's bodyguard and Cass approach the ship in a jet ski and decide to join them in the fight. Noi and the bodyguard jump on top of the monster and try to slash its head in half with their weapon, but they can't even scratch the thick disaster's head. Noi then uses his high-level fire magic, forcing the disaster to retreat underwater. The monster starts unleashing its missiles, forcing them to use their skills to stop hitting the ship. Some missiles explode mid-air and push both Modi's and Noi into the water. Noi frees Modi's, who was restrained by the disaster's tentacles, but gets caught right after. He starts to lose consciousness because he cannot breathe, and meets Gaia in his mind, the system behind the game Chuyu Isekai he belongs to. She quickly shows him the image of a woman, telling him it's his lost mother, who's currently stuck inside the game, telling him that he must save her. He regains his consciousness and finds Cass in the water. She jumped into the ocean to save him, unleashing a mysterious power to protect him, and killing the disaster with a laser beam. The group return back and start talking about the situation and the increased number of disasters appearing. But suddenly, in the real world, Blondie inserts a chip in Modi's headset, making her fall into a coma. Modi's bodyguards log out to find the reason why she fell into a coma and how to save her, and soon find out that she will be forever stuck in the game if they remove her headset. They quickly investigate more about the system, and find out that Gaia is a system created by Modi's father and Gyurido, Noi's father. Meanwhile, Noi is sitting next to Modi's body because she cannot log out from the game. Gaia suddenly appears and puts his hand on Modi's head, teleporting him into her consciousness, where he meets Modi's again. There they see Modi's memories from the past, where Modi's and Noi are in an amusement park with their parents, revealing they knew each other 10 years ago. They also watch both families hanging out with each other while their parents talk about work. While everyone is enjoying their time, Hira, Noi's mother, notices the young Gaia and approaches her. Gaia sees Modi show her affection toward her father and starts to cry, disrupting balance, and making everything around disappear. Noi sees his mother hugging Gaia to calm her down and rushes to his mother's side. But Gaia gets jealous once again and loses control, restraining Hira inside a dark sphere while attacking Noi and everyone else. Noi's father logged out to fix the system, but he couldn't, and everyone starts to log out except for Modi's father, who stayed inside the game to take Noi back with him. Kirito, Modi's, and her mother manage to log out in time, but the building starts to collapse, crushing the capsules that contain Noi and Modi's father's real bodies. Noi consciousness somehow managed to stay alive in the Gaia system, and he grew up in the Chuyu Isekai game, without any memories from his past. In real life, Blondie is revealed to be Noi's older sister, and is forced by her father to remove the chip from Modi's helmet, making her wake up from the coma. Both Modi's and Noi wake up in game after witnessing their memories. But at the same time, Viros appears outside, ready to delete Noi from the system. Their battle begins. Viros casts several magic balls, but Noi counters with his fireball. Viros then uses his magic to restrain Noi, who cannot escape. Cass appears and tries to stop it by putting herself in front of the She suddenly turns herself into a disaster, who was specially designed by Noi's father to act as his guardian. Cass starts to vanish. This time, she won't be able to respawn. She gave her life to protect Noi, and transfers her power to him before completely vanishing away. Noi finally gets back up, ready to fight Viros and avenge his childhood friend. He uses his highest level of fire magic to defeat Viros, who explodes. But Noi suddenly gets teleported by Gaia, who shows him Hira's location, telling Noi once again to save his mother before she disappears from the game and even real life, while explaining how regretful she feels for separating his family and for being the reason he's not alive anymore. Noi accepts her apologies and uses his friend's summon himself to his companion's side. Suddenly, Viros appears once again, after using the same method to return and finish his job. Viros reveals itself to be another AI bug system, created to destroy any bugs like Noi, who threaten the virtual world's safety. He's the one who's been summoning disasters in every place that Noi has been to. The group decides to fight together and to destroy Viros, but he creates 2 clones of himself every time someone slashes him in half. They slashed him several times, but his numbers only continue to increase. Modi's urges Noi to rush to the black sphere and focus on saving his mother, but Viros stops him and casts a barrier around, allowing them to fight without disturbances. Modi's pierces the black sphere, while Noi charges with his great axe toward Viros. His axe is broken in half, but Noi uses the handle to stab Viros, who finally meets his end. Meanwhile, Modi's manages to destroy the black sphere, saving Noi's mother and reviving Cass, allowing them to continue their lives in the Chuyu Isekai world.